Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cat's Track. We post an interview with an amazing Canadian each weekday for your daily inspiration. Today, I would like to introduce you to my dear friend, Chris Maksylewicz. Chris was born in Edmonton and is married to his beautiful wife, Stephanie. Prior to this, he was married to Erika, the namesake of the Erika Legacy Foundation. Chris is passionate about people. He loves connecting, helping people become the best versions of themselves, and creating lives that they love. Thank you for your service, Chris. Friends, you will find his full bio attached. Thank you again for joining us today, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you. May we start with the questions that I sent you this week?
We can start with the questions you sent me this week.
Awesome. The first one, what has been your biggest challenge in the last 2 months?
As you know, this is currently June 2nd of 2020. So we have just been in a 2 months worth of isolation and quarantine with COVID, which has been a game changer for humanity in general. It truly has. It has done so much. So being that I am the executive director of the Erika Legacy Foundation, which is rooted in suicide prevention and mental health, as you can imagine, when people are isolated, when people all of a sudden have to quick stop everything. This wasn't a gradual stop. It was very, very quick. I remember being in Toronto and the NBA said, we're not playing games. And then the next day, I remember the next day being in Toronto and the NHL said, we are not playing games. And then the next day in my hotel, I saw that every bottle of hand sanitizer was gone. And I became fearful that I wouldn't make it home because maybe the airports were shut down. Now, obviously they didn't, because within Canada, we still travel, but that was a worry. That was an original worry for Canadians. So the biggest challenge for me and for our foundation has been to help people during this time. It's been a real big process to get people the resources they need on things like anxiety and depression, how to talk to people if you think they're suicidal, or how to notice those signs of stress, and really taking those and getting those documents, those videos, that information out into the world so that people can be helped. And what I love is people come to us, and our whole mission now is just for COVID is to make sure that you take care of one another and you make those hard conversations. In fact, one of the things that the Erika Legacy Foundation has done is we realize that it's hard to talk about suicide if you think somebody's suicidal. And we have made things like this little card. And this little card can be fit in your pocket, and it says on it what to say if you are worried about someone. And it goes through a script that isn't too blunt, but will guide you into saying things like, I've noticed, and then you name some specific behaviors, and I'm concerned. Given what you would be going through right now, I understand that what you're going through. Is there any way I can help? Are you feeling suicidal? And we've also made things for anxiety, a little card about anxiety and how to kind of refocus yourself. And it's really trying to, during these last 2 months, help people understand that although it is hard out there and there is job loss and there is fear and there is depression and everything that goes along with it, you can also thrive. You can thrive during this time so that when it comes out, you'll be in a better place. And we want to give people the information, not only about how to sleep, not only about how you should exercise or eat better or eat well, but also we want to educate people on the science behind things like anxiety and depression and what dopamine does and what serotonin does and neuroplasticity and how to keep your brain at optimal strength during these very stressful times. And that's been truly the biggest challenge in our last 2 months.
Do you mind sharing what's on the anxiety card?
Sure. The anxiety card is a wonderful little document right there. And we've given out 10,000 so far. We've also given out 20,000 of the suicide ones. And the anxiety card gives you tips on the front. Tips like, do your best instead of being perfect. Strive. Nobody's perfect. In fact, that harkens to my logo, which I'm sure somebody here will see on either your podcast or your YouTube. Our logo is an Enzo. It's a circle. In fact, I have it here. That is our logo. Live to Inspire is a thing that we do. It's a campaign we're working on. But the Enzo is a Japanese symbol. Now, there's two types of Enzos. There's a type of Enzo that is closed and a type of Enzo that is opened. When the Enzo is still open, it means that there is never perfection. And you shouldn't strive for perfection. You should just strive to be better every day. That life will never be perfect. Strive to have your Enzo open so that you can bring in new ideas, bring in new communication, bring in new contacts, bring in new culture, bring in new connection so that you can always learn and grow. And on our anxiety card, it really heightens that with accept that you can't control everything, or learn what triggers your anxiety. Breathe, laugh, take time for yourself, have a good meal. One of the things that is on there as well is have a good shave. One of the things that happened was in my past life, I was married to Erika. And when we divorced at the where she was just having mental issues, we divorced. And one of the greatest mentors I've ever had was an ex-business mentor of mine, Peter. And the first day that it happened, Peter said to me, he said, Chris, it's going to be bad. You're going to go through a lot of stuff in the next bunch of months. But for today, breathe and go have a good shave. And I always found that for men and women, the idea of go and just let water hit you and just be in that moment. And Peter was very definite about it. He's like, make sure you have hot water. Make sure you do the towel. Take the time. And at first I was like, okay, I'm just going to go shave. But then I realized there was a purpose to that. And it is for anxiety. It's a grounding, right? It's how to ground yourself into this moment to know that just for now, this moment's fine.
I love it.
And these resources have helped thousands of people, which I'm so proud of.
I love it. How can we get them? Are they on your website?
They will be on my website. Yes, they will be up there right away. And as well, people can email me. I will send them out. No cost. We just want to spread the word, truly.
Awesome. And what's your email address, Chris?
My email address is cmac, C-M-A-K, at erikalegacy.com. Erika is E-R-I-K-A.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. And the top 3 things that you would like to share with our audience today?
The top 3 things that I would like to share with your audience today, because I realize that your audience is a mix of business and a mix of people that are wanting new jobs or new lives and families. There's a lot of families out there. One of the things I want to tell people is the first thing is to never give up. Even when it is really the darkest of dark. And the way I do this is I tell people about my life story. And in 2008, I got married to Erika. This is a life. 2008, I was married to Erika. In 2013, I was divorced. And Erika walked out, and I remember the day, obviously. She walked out of our brand new house. We had just built a brand new house. And it felt like bombs were in my ears. My ears were ringing so bad. But from 2013 to 2019, Erika left. Erika died by suicide. My father died by cancer. My grandfather died. My aunt died by suicide. I moved quickly to Vancouver. And during that time, my employer cut my salary in half. I had 3 friends who died by suicide. I had another friend who died from other causes. And COVID hit, and my mother had a mild stroke. And my sister was diagnosed with MS. And the reason I tell that story is because people will look at it and be like, whoa, you had a bunch of hard years. And it was, I would have been the poster child for what the Erika Legacy Foundation stands for. Yeah. Suicide and mental health. And by the grace of good friends, good help, being able to communicate, I was able to not go down a path of despair as heavy as some do, being some do the ultimate and they die by suicide. So the idea of never giving up, because one of the things that happened was when me and my wife, Stephanie, my current wife, Stephanie, started to date, I had very bad anxiety, and I still have bad anxiety. I am not ashamed to admit I have bad anxiety. I think more people should admit it so that we can together talk about it. But one of the things that Stephanie said to me, which changed my life, because Stephanie is very blunt. Stephanie is English, and she's very blunt. And she said, you know, your anxiety might never really change. But meds can help you, and meditation can help you, and exercise can help you a lot. But you also have to know that when it comes to this world, everything changes always. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, because it's true that everything changes always. So if you're struggling, don't give up, never give up, because everything changes always. The second thing is to not be afraid. Fear is rampant right now. As we were just talking about, COVID is happening. As we were just talking about, is currently July 2nd or June 2nd. And in the United States, there are riots happening and there are peaceful protests happening, which people should be more in tune with the peaceful protests. They want a peaceful change, but there is a lot of fear and there is a lot of people afraid. That kind of thing sparks mental health issues. One of the things that has been coming out of the news recently is that COVID, after the first and second waves hit, suicide and mental health could possibly be the next big wave of problems due to all the isolation we've had. So I want people to understand that there are actual places you can go and talk, like the Erika Legacy Foundation, or like a doctor, or like a therapist, or the Kids Help Phone is fantastic for children because they obviously get fear a lot greater. But there are things like books. We love books. It's something you can do by yourself. You don't have to tell anybody. And hopefully that book will lead you to tell everybody. It will inspire you to tell everybody. One of the books that we have created, our foundation created with the We Foundation, is the We Wellbeing Playbook, which is a great playbook, about 250 pages, and it was originally made for youth. And in this book, it takes youth from the science of the brain, what's happening in your brain, the actual chemical happening in your brain when you feel fear or anxiety, to things like meditation and mindfulness and how to eat right. But it goes through the whole gamut. But what we wanted to do in this book was we wanted to really focus on the science of the brain and the statistics that suicide is on the rise. We all know it is. It's projected that suicides are going to go up to 1.2 million people a year in the next couple of years. It currently is sitting at about 1 million. The idea of giving people these kind of resources for no cost or low cost really helps what is being done at the home as things around families go crazy. Now, this book has been great because we published it. We have sent out over 10,000 copies. In the next year, we're going to send out even more. Currently, we're in over 12,000 schools in Canada with the We program, teaching kids about the science behind mental health and suicide. And that will make a great change. Yeah. But it starts with a book like this, because the book will go home they will do it and they'll leave it on the counter, and their parents will start to look at it and probably do it with them as well, which we have heard many a time. The idea of things getting better, so don't be afraid, is a big deal for me. That yes, let the fear come, sit with fear for a bit, but then do things like ground yourself in things like, or things that you know, can see, can smell, can touch, and then go out and do something about it. Do something proactive. I'm very big on being proactive. The third thing I want people to know is that mental health issues, including fear and anxiety, and suicide issues, suicidology, which is the study of suicide, has very many components. It's very complex, but there's two big pieces to it. Typically, there is a bio piece and then a psychosocial piece. And the psychosocial piece is usually triggers. You had a bad relationship or your business went under, and that will trigger your bio side, which is your neurochemistry side, your neuroplasticity, your brain function. And there's technologies out there that can help you understand those what's happening in your brain better. We are at a point in our generation and in our time where technology has caught up to great strides to let us know what's happening in our brains. Have we unlocked everything? No, because it's the brain. And it is a very, very complex organ. Now, with that being said, we want people to know about those kind of technologies. We want people to know that there is help. We want people to know that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to be on medication if you need it. There's no shame in that, because that'll go a long way. It'll go a long way in changing the way our families, our children, and our communities think, act, and then talk about suicide and mental health. One of the things I hate so much is when people say, well, so-or-so committed suicide. Well, they didn't commit suicide. They died by suicide. They're dead. Committed is if they did a crime, and there wasn't a crime. And there's a whole thing about how committed came into our speech pattern and our culture, which is a longer conversation we'll have. But it's things like that that can make a real big change on easing the pain of the person who is suffering. And that's the third thing we want them to know.
I love it. Thank you so much, Chris. Very inspiring. Thank you. And what is a good news or legacy story that you want to share?
Well, a good news story is great change is coming for the world. That's a good news story. And I think the great change that's happening in our world in general, if you think about, as I've mentioned it over and over again, because I really like to timestamp this moment that me and you were speaking. So there's great change coming, but the good news, one of the good news is, the great news actually, is that because of the Erika Legacy Foundation, I have been able to talk to so many people and reach so many people. So my personal good news and my foundation's good news story is that we have a campaign called Live to Inspire. So we have shirts that say Live to Inspire, and now I'm making hats that say Live to Inspire, and we're going to have a whole Live to Inspire army of people out there. And the good news is that it is now the right place and the right time to have that message resonate with people so deeply that they live it daily and they want to live it daily. The idea that the actions you do in your personal life and your public life, you can always inspire others or yourself. It's one of the reasons I actually made these cards. We made 15,000 of these cards, and they were gone within 2 months. And they're just simple postcards. They're simple Live to Inspire postcards. And the idea was that if you got a postcard, to write a note, handwrite. I'm a big fan of stationery and pens, and I'm an old school kind of person. I love fountain pens, but we wanted youth and adults to write notes of inspiration, thanking people who have inspired them along the way, because it's very rarely done. Handwritten note. If you had a teacher who inspired you 2 years ago, write a note, send it to them. Or if you knew somebody who is struggling, write a note to that person and tell them why they're important. Because it's those kind of things that will change this world. It will change the way you go out of the door, and rather than walking out of your door into the world, you'll want to walk out of your door and hug somebody that is in need, because you want to inspire others to come up. And we have had a huge success. The other thing we've created, and I will tell you, in Calgary and in Edmonton, and soon to be other cities, I have made these cards, which are random acts of kindness cards done in the memory of Erika Elkington. And all I ever ask is that the idea that people pay it forward. If you're going to pay it forward, give them a card so that they can then see the QR code on the back and hopefully get some resources or help if they know somebody in need.
Wow, I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was very inspiring. I'm going to get all those resources right away. I look forward to ordering.
You will be getting all of them right away. And all your listeners and all your people watching on YouTube, because I watch you on YouTube, if you need anything, email us. And not just for the promo, I will give you all the promo you need. But if you truly know somebody, or you yourself are struggling, contact us, because we're confidential and we can find help for you, because it doesn't have to be so hard. Life is great if you allow it to be.
Thank you, Chris. I love it. Well, everybody, that was Chris with the Erika Legacy Foundation. I hope you'll look at their website, get their resources, and spread the good word. Thanks again for joining us today. Have a great day.